Okay, so by the end of class, I am gonna have you just turn in what you have so I can grade it. Should you not have like it all done, I'll give it back to you Monday and then you have that week to resubmit. But today will probably be the last day in class that we spend like this much amount of time on the corrections. So if you need more time, again, I'll give it back to you Monday and you could resubmit. The practice test and now the key is available in Schoology. So if you need to like do more studying because you're really trying to get that grade bump, then have a weekend to do that. Notice that we haven't really had much homework because we've been doing the Aspire prep. So really take advantage of this time to focus on that. If you've been needing to retake a unit test, like these times are also a good time to make sure those study guides are done and that you understand them prior to coming in and retake. All right, so yeah. Remember, I'm collecting these and grading your corrections for assessment points. They should all be accurate for the I'm recording right now, link it in the slides. That's what I did yesterday for a couple of my classes as I recorded myself going over some of them. So which ones do we still need help with? Lauren. 28. So my suggestion, if you also got 28 incorrect, or maybe you got it right randomly and you don't know how, then write down everything that we're right. But it'll only help you. I mentioned before, there's some stuff in this that they expect you to remember from prior years. In fact, I would say like the majority of it, they expect you to remember from prior years. But I have taught you like problem solving, so I still expect you to do well on this. All right, so this one, number 28. Molly built a dollhouse that is a scale model of her home. The floor plan for the bottom floor of the dollhouse is shown below with measurements in inches. The rooms and the hall are represented by rectangles. Some people didn't know that you can scroll down and see more of it. And when you scroll down, there's like more information, by the way. Like it tells you the conversion. Because I'm not sure if you remember scale models or not, but they usually have a key of some sort. And for this one, it's saying that 1 inch in the model represents 2.5 feet in the home. All right, so that helps you with a different problem. Let's see what this one does. Molly painted the floors of the 2 rooms and the hall shown in the floor plan to the nearest 0.01. What is the total area in square inches that Molly painted? So make a game plan. What shapes are all of these rooms? Well, how do you find the area of a rectangle? Okay, good. So, and it's the 2 rooms and the hall. So both of these, all of them actually. So we're finding the area of these. So what's the length and width of the family room? So that's what I'm multiplying together first, not like the 7.2 and the 4.8. We want like the whole like group. Okay, so that's why we're going to take this measurement, which would be like the whole length, and this measurement, which would be the whole width. What is 6 times 7.2? Okay, good. And remember, practice with whatever calculator you plan to use on test day. If you don't have your own handheld one, then it's this one. But this one is fine for little calculations like that. So yeah, 43.2 for the family room. Now for the dining room, what measurements should I use? I should use 3.6 for sure. That would be like a width. Now, is this 4.8 the entire length? No. So we have to do a little bit of our problem solving to figure out like the total of that. So let's see. Let me see if there's more information down here. All right, so let's see. I know, okay, so let's come back to the dining room for a second. We can find the area of the hall. So what's the area of the hall? Like what am I multiplying together? 2.4 times 1.2, which is 2.88, right? Let me confirm that. Okay. So this is what I have so far. And now we're back to the dining room. So let me pick up my notes. All right. So the reason why, which Riley explained to me, is because since this family room base is 4.8 and then the top of the dining room is also 4.8, the door takes away the same amount from each space, right? So that is why we can conclude that the dining room has the same length or width, whichever you want to call it, same measurement as the family room. Okay, so that's how I got 6. And then 3.6 times 6 is 21.6. We had these other two measurements, correct? Add them all together because it wanted the total area. And we get this. And this one, I don't think it matters. Like, it's not difficult to round to the hundredths because your answer was already in the hundredths. But what space is the hundredths? Like, how many spaces after the decimal? 2. So when we put this in the calculator, we already have 2 spaces, so we don't really have to worry about it. But if we had more, then we would look to the right, and depending on whatever number was to the right, we would round to where it stays the same or round up. So questions on that one? Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I forgot that one. Okay, other ones from the practice test. Yes, 10. Okay, so this one is a good one to go over. It is one of those where you find the pattern and continue it or figure out another way to solve to get it, which we have done in here. So this one says a pattern exists among the units digits of the powers of 7 as shown below. So here's the first 0 through 8 powers of 7. It gives you the values. If I tried putting this in my calculator, it wouldn't give me the units digit. Because like what is, and it gives you a key right here, by the way, to explain what units digit means, because I didn't even really know. But it tells you the units digit of 2,401 is 1. So what's the unit digit of this one? What's the units digit of this one? What's the units digit of this one? Just 9, actually. What's the units digit of this one? 3. What's the units digit of this one? 1. Are we noticing a pattern at all? Okay, well then let's keep doing it. What's the units digit of this one? 7. What's the units digit of this one? 9. What's the units digit of this one? 3. Now are we seeing a pattern? So what is the pattern? It keeps going 1793, 1793 over and over again. And it tells you there's a pattern among the units digit, so that's the pattern. What you do now is you have 2 choices. You could go all the way from 8 to 50, keeping that pattern going, but I think that might be a time waster. If it were me, since they gave me up to 7 to the power of 8 and I have to go to 7 to the power of 50, well, what's 50 minus 8? 42. And then how many different numbers are there? 4. There's 4 different numbers that it rotates through. So I'm going to now divide that by 4, which is not a perfectly even number. Well, let's see what it is. 42 divided by 4 gives me 10.5. So what that means is I'm going through 10.5 rotations of the same numbers. So, okay, sorry. 10.5 rotations of the same 4 numbers. So it ended where that last number is 1. Sorry, I messed up all my writing. What would be the next number after the 1, according to the pattern? And then that's really all we kind of have to go through. So the last one they gave me was 1. That means they went through 10 rotations where it ended at 1, and then a half a rotation. So 1, 2 would be half of 4, right? So the last number on the 7 to the power of 50 would be 9. Does that make sense? That's why this answer was E. So yeah, you could continue the pattern all the way up to 50 if you have no clue what to do otherwise. But that is a time waster. If that's your only method of solving that way, then I would probably say that one for the end. Yes. All right. Other question. Any questions on this one still? Anemone or no? 15? Okay. All right, so this one's also a good one to go over. A map of Nelson County is laid out on a standard XY coordinate plane. By the way, this one was 15. And the center of the county is at 0, 0. Cell phone tower is at 5, 4. Esteban House is at 10, -2. Each coordinate unit represents 1 mile. The tower signal range is 10 miles in all directions. So that's like the same information that they give you for a number of questions, by the way. In this specific one, it says the strength of the tower signal to Esteban's house depends on the straight line distance between his house to the tower. What's the straight line distance in miles between Esteban's house and the tower? So we're trying to figure out the distance of a diagonal line on this grid. So what I think, because there's a few ways you can solve this. I don't think you guys have the distance formula memorized from a prior year. So I'm going to give you probably something that you do remember. So if I have to find like a distance across, like not a straight line, then maybe I could create a triangle like this, to where now all I have to solve for is my hypotenuse. All right, when I make this, what I end up creating is a right triangle, which you can use a certain formula for to solve for the hypotenuse. You guys remember that formula? Not right over run. So I'll be finding the area of the triangle. We just want to find the length of the longer side of a right triangle. Riley?
Potentially weight plus width, and then might subtract that from 180. I think.
No.
Okay.
Aiden?
Is that the one where you have to where eggs and hypotenuse and then on the one on the side?
So yeah, I could find these side lengths. What's this side length? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles. This one down here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles. So what do I do now to find the hypotenuse?
Was, that's why.
No. All right, this, I know they've definitely covered in a previous year. So to find the missing side length of a right triangle, you use Pythagorean theorem, which is what? A squared.
Plus B squared to C squared.
Good. So that I think is something better to memorize than the distance formula. So the A and B are the sides of the right triangle that aren't the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always your longest side, and that happens to be what we're trying to solve for in this. So by making a right triangle and counting these, which I can easily count, I plug it into here, and now I can solve for this missing side. So C always has to be the hypotenuse. So I have 6 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared with 6 squared. What's 5 squared? And what's 36 plus 25?
51.
Okay, 61. Is the C completely alone?
No, there is square.
So what's opposite of squaring something? So that you would do that to both sides. So whatever you do on one side, you have to do to the other. Now the C is completely alone. And normally you simplify the radical, but you actually can't, so 61 is prime. So does this match one of my answer options? Yes, it matches E. So that's how you can figure that out on a coordinate plane. There is also the distance formula, but I just don't think like it's common knowledge to remember that one. It is common knowledge to remember Pythagorean theorem, which the distance formula comes from anyway. So that I think is a better method of solving. Questions on this one? All right, any others? $16. Okay, so same situation. And look, that this is, well, actually, no, never mind. Just ignore me for a second. So same situation. Now it says the tower's signal range directly above a point, AB, on the ground, extends to an altitude in miles given by this function. A jet directly above Esteban's house is within the tower's signal range. What's the maximum altitude in miles of the jet? So it's within the tower signal range. What is the tower signal range? Okay. Yeah. It said in this chunk of information.
10 miles in the
10 miles in all directions. So, let's see. The tower's signal range directly above a point on the ground extends to an altitude in miles given by this function. So we have to figure out what point they are talking about, and it's going to be the one that is directly above the ground, which I'm not sure what is the ground in this. So give me 1 second. All right, because the function is telling you the altitude of the jet, which is what they're wanting you to solve for. So what's the maximum altitude? And it tells you that the jet is directly above Esteban's house. So the way that they sorted it, 10 is going to be the A, and -2 is going to be the B. And just like this is in function notation, just wherever that there is a A, we're gonna replace with what? 10. And always use parentheses whenever you plug something in. All right, so far all I did was replace these with 10s. The rest I got from the given equation. And then now anywhere that there's a B, we're going to replace it with a -2, yes. And I'm kind of running out of room, so I'm gonna squeeze it. All right, but everywhere that there's a B, we're replacing with -2. This is one of those where I hate this calculator, because if I had like my own graphing calculator, I could type this all in at once and just press equals. For this, we're gonna have to kind of know our order of operations. PEMDAS. Now parentheses just means what's inside the parentheses. So inside all of these, there's nothing more we can do. So really the first step in this problem is all the exponents. And we don't really even have to worry about this square root, because as you can see from the answers, they all have square root symbols in them. So we're just simplifying what's underneath. So do all the exponents. What is 10 squared? 100. Did that first. We'll save the multiplication for the next step, just doing the exponents. What's -2 squared? +4. You should never square something and get a negative. Okay, so -2 squared is a +4. And they had a minus in front of it from here, so that's why there's a minus there. All right, so we did all the exponents. What would come next? Multiplication or division from left to right. So this one only has multiplication in it, so we don't have to worry about that part. But if there was both, do it from left to right. So I'm going to leave this part because that's not multiplication. What's 10 times 10? So plus 100. Gonna bring down the -4. What's 8 times -2? -16, yes. So because positive times a negative gives me a negative. All right, now it's easier. Now we just have addition, subtraction from left to right. So it doesn't mean you do all the adding first. You do it from left to right. So we have 59 minus 100 plus 100 minus 4 minus 16. And that gives me 39. Was the correct answer C in this one? Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Right? This one was number 16, I think. Let me check. Yeah. So, yeah. Turn it in, even if you're not done. I just don't want you to lose it and not get any assessment points. So I'll grade it as it is today. I'll give it back to you Monday. You can resubmit it all next week for the full credit. Just, I want whatever you have today.